All right, my name is Miro Kefurt, and I'm the representative for the Russian manufacturers that make this car. There's actually 3 different companies that are involved in producing the vehicle. The car itself was designed during the Soviet era, and it was kind of to be the better, smaller Yugo, because I was actually involved in 1984 with bringing the first 3 Yugos into the United States, and we showed them as a part of the Auto Expo in Los Angeles in 1984 in April. And at that time, the import duty, because it was Soviet Union, was like 35%. But the idea was to, at that time, make a car that would cost less than $2,000 to produce, which was possible because the Yugo was made in Yugoslavia for $16,000. And at that time, the average car, like a Honda Civic, was selling for almost $7,000. So there was a big, huge room to have a low car. The rights for the Yugo, we ended up selling to Malcolm Bricklin in New Jersey, and he did his own thing. And Russians were at the time using the Fiat technology because they had, since 1960s, a relationship with Fiat. And whether it was Yugoslavia or Russia, they had from 1962 20-year agreement that they basically cannot sell cars outside of their domestic region because there was a restriction that Fiat put on the fact that they built factories for them. So in 1982 that restriction expired, and that's why Yugo was allowed to export to the United States, and the Russians looked into it as well. Well, from the Russian vehicles, all the Ladas and Volgas were basically built on like 20 years to obsolete technology for the United States anyway, and this car didn't exist yet. So the Soviet government actually put out an initiative to design a people's car, which is supposed to be something like Ford Model T or the modern Volkswagen, and this is what the Russians came up with, using the Fiat components from 1970s, and they came up with this car. In Russia, it was produced from 1984, and it's still in manufacture with 2-cylinder engine. But in May of this year, Russia enacted emission standards as a part of becoming part of the European Union. So they had to now put what are called Euro 2 emissions. So now they have 3- and 4-cylinder engines, and eventually in 4 years they will have what's called Euro 4 specifications. In the United States, because of the regulations, this car would cost about $20,000 or more if we do everything to make it 100% legal for emission standards. And being a low-value manufacturer, this company only makes this car. So we cannot do what other big companies do, is like lose money on a little car and then price the big truck more.
Right.
And at $20,000, there's basically not that many takers. So the other alternative was, if we make it into neighborhood electric vehicle, we can sell the completed car for basically from $7,500 to as much as $10,000, fully equipped, able to go between 20 to 30 miles on the range, which is practical for neighborhood, and essentially for less money than a golf cart, less money than the famous Gem, and it's street legal, can be driven at night, can be driven in the rain, in snow, all of that. So the idea was also to make it cost effective and use components that are proven, which is, we don't want to have the customers as a guinea pigs, for example. Okay? So one of the things we are using is standard powertrain that's used in golf carts. And since golf carts has 8 or 10-inch wheels, they only go 10 to 18 miles an hour. We have 13-inch wheels, so even with the same gear reduction, which is 12 to 1, we are able to go exactly 25 miles an hour, which happens to be the federal regulations for neighborhood electric vehicles, that by the federal law they cannot go more than 25 miles an hour on level ground, but must go minimum of 22. So our vehicle fits right into those specifications. And everything on this car has been in production for a long time, so we don't have anything that's not proven. The all-tracks controller have been made for 3 years in this configuration. The power batteries we're using are either flooded batteries from Ukraine or sealed batteries from Spain. They were actually developed by Fiat for the Fiat Elettra in 1990. And to my knowledge, those are the only batteries that were actually intentionally developed and manufactured as a traction batteries for small cars, which are vibration resistant and so on. By comparison, most of the vehicles I've seen here that are used, they are not golf carts, that are not using golf cart batteries, are actually using batteries that were used to be for computer UPS supplies, which means batteries that are supposed to be happy at 70 degrees sitting still in a room. Now you put them in a vehicle with vibration, I say, well, put your cup of water on the dashboard and see if you cannot spill it. Those batteries do have serious problems in 6 to 9 months of use because just the vibration destroys it. And they also are very expensive to replace, as much as $2,000. Our battery pack is guaranteed for 3 years, and we have a program that if people are worried about the cost, for $1 a day, for as long as they want to, they can buy it in sequence, or when they buy the car, we cover the entire car, which is the tires, the brakes, the batteries, whenever they need to be. So essentially for $400 a year, we actually physically come to the location where the car is, because people cannot drive for hundreds of miles, and at least once or twice a year inspect everything. If something needs to be fixed, we fix it. It's part of the service contract. So far only fleet customers that we sold it to go for it, because to them cost predictability is more important. Retail customers usually want the minimum cost. So more than half of the people that bought a car just want the flooded batteries because they cost $1,000 less. But they will only last 2.5 years, and we guarantee them for 18 months. The sealed batteries, the longest ones that we've been able to test, been in use for 10 years, and they are still all right. We actually had some batteries from the factory that were dormant for 2 years in a discharge state and completely recovered. So like I say, I'm amazed by those batteries. Unfortunately, too few people know that they exist, but they cost $140 a piece. So and we need to have 4 of them in one pack. Each pack, which is 4 batteries, because we run 48 volt motors, gives the car the absolute minimum of reliable 10-mile range, which means at full speed, on a level ground, at 25 miles an hour without stopping, we will get at least that much, which is not how people drive cars. And all batteries, even the sealed batteries, have a properties that if you give them some range, some rest, they partially chemically recharge. Which is saying, like if you have a flashlight that you already doesn't light up and you turn it off, you wait half an hour, you turn it on, you get a little bit more light. You don't get the full capacity, but it recovers. So in stop and go driving, we have a few customers that claim they get 26 to as much as 32 miles on just the batteries that are intended to go 20 miles, but we don't recommend that people do it. I cannot tell people it's the same situation like a gasoline car. Like how many times you drive it until you have to push it to the gas stations just to find out how many miles you can go to the tank for. Same thing you should do with electric car. When the needle says you should recharge it, you should recharge it. You shouldn't try to see, oh, let's see if I can squeeze in another mile. Oh, it went another mile. Let's see another one. So that's usually how people abuse or ruin batteries in electric cars, by basically trying to set the marathon world record for how far could I go. And it's much more sensible to treat the batteries correctly, keep them in fully charged, because they really can last as much as 10 years or longer. But on the other hand, if somebody really tries, they can ruin them in one day. So it's customer education saying, don't try to set new records.
Okay. And this car is available, I believe, in Vegas? In the
We
Vegas
are
area?
based in Las Vegas. We're basically the manufacturer's representative. Currently, we sell them directly to our customers. We'll deliver it anywhere in the United States. If it's a very long distance, we have to charge some delivery fees, but within Southern California, Phoenix, we bring the car in for free. And it's, these are registered in Nevada, but we have one on the lot out there that's registered in California. Absolutely no problem.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for introducing the OKA NEV to AutoblogGreen readers.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.